What's going on, guys? Kevin here from thesportsgeek.com, and in this video I'm going to go over my DraftKings PGA Championship picks. If you want updates on when I post new DraftKings and sports betting videos, make sure you click that little gear button underneath the video, click it and subscribe for notifications so you get an update on when I post new videos. Before we move on to the PGA Championship, just want to quickly recap the RBC Canadian Open. I gave out 4 golfers in last week's video. Unfortunately, only 2 of them made the cut, and those 2 golfers didn't do too well over the weekend. So it wasn't a great week for my DraftKings picks. You can see there on the left-hand side, I have Jonathan Vegas circled. He was actually the 4th ranked golfer in my Sports Geek Fantasy Labs model. And at 7,300, I had him in about 30 to 35% of my DraftKings lineups. And I also placed an outright winner bet on him. So he was 121 to 1. He ended up winning the tournament and cashing me a huge payday. And the cool thing about it was I was there live in Oakville, which is about an hour and a half from where I live. So I drove down there. DraftKings had a suite there on the 18th green. So I drove down there with a couple friends, and we sweated my DraftKings lineups live, and then also this outright bet that I thought had pretty much no chance heading into Sunday, but Vegas shot 8 under, followed him down 16, 17, and 18 where he went birdie, birdie, birdie finish, and then had to sweat out some other golfers who had a chance to eagle or birdie 18 to at least tie and force a playoff. But Vegas ended up winning without a playoff. It was pretty cool to watch live. Unfortunately, my DraftKings lineups didn't do too well, but that outright winner definitely paid off big time. So that was pretty cool. And looking forward to more success with my Sports Geek model here for the PGA Championship. All right, so we've got the 2016 PGA Championship being played at the Baltusrol Golf Club. This is going to be the lower club. It's a 7,428-yard par 70. And the PGA Championship was last played here in 2005 when Mickelson won. There's been no other PGA Tour event played here since 2005, so we don't have too much course history to look at. What I've heard from this course is it penalizes missing the fairway. They've got different cuts of rough as you get further away from the fairway. So if you're just a couple feet off the fairway, it might not be too bad, but as you get further away, it's really going to penalize you. And with all the length on this course, it's going to be tough to hit greens if you're not hitting the fairway. So we're going to be taking a look at driving accuracy, maybe a little more than other weeks. We're also going to be looking at strokes gained, tee to green and putting, driving distance, birdie or better percentage, and recent form. My first pick here, I got to do it. It's Dustin Johnson, 11,600. Obviously, a pretty obvious pick. It's going to be a popular pick. He'll probably be owned in at least 30% of tournament lineups, maybe closer to 50%. But when someone is this cheap and playing this well on DraftKings, you would think he'd be priced around 13,000. But when he's this cheap, you kind of got to take him, unless for some reason you think he's going to have an off tournament. But he's just been on fire right now. He's the highest ranking on my Fantasy Labs model by 4 points. His recent finishes have been 3rd, 5th, 1st, 9th, and 2nd. So I kind of compare him to someone like an Antonio Brown, who they just get on fire and they don't slow down. And you can try to fade them, but it usually doesn't work out. So Dustin Johnson is someone I'll have in quite a few of my lineups this week. His last 2 PGA Championships played, he finished 7th and tied for 8th. He ranked 2nd in strokes gained tee to green, 1st in driving distance, and 1st in birdie or better percentage. So I'm not going to try to get cute and fade Dustin Johnson this week. I'll have him in roughly 50% of my lineups. Next up, moving down a little bit, Bubba Watson, $9,000. He's the 6th highest ranking on my Fantasy Labs model. He hasn't been playing too great. His recent finishes have been 43rd, 65th, 51st, 14th, and 39th. That's going to lead to some low ownership, which I like. And he is a high upside player with 5 wins in his last 3 years. And he's been pretty consistent this year with no missed cuts. He ranks 5th in strokes gained tee to green, 4th in driving distance, and 15th in birdie or better percentage. So this is more of a feeler play. Just feel like this is the type of course that he could play well at. And although he's not playing great, I'm going to go for the low ownership and kind of take a little bit of a risk on Bubba Watson this week. Moving down a tier, we got Rafael, Cabrera, Bello at 7,300. He's the 12th highest ranking golfer on my Fantasy Labs model, and he's outperformed his salary on DraftKings by over 10 points the last 10 weeks. His recent finishes have included a 32nd at US Open, 4th, 21st, and a 39th at the British Open or the Open Championship. And he's been 39th or better in the 3 majors this year. So this is a guy who really steps up for the major tournaments. He doesn't have any PGA Tour stats because he hasn't played enough events, but he ranks high in recent form in greens and regulation and driving accuracy on Fantasy Labs. So at 7,300, I think it's a good price for him. And I'll definitely have quite a few shares of Cabrera Bello this week. And then in the bargain bin, I'm going to go with Andy Sullivan at 6,100. He's the 16th highest ranking on my Fantasy Lab model, which is pretty solid for a guy at 6,100. His recent finishes have been 23rd at the US Open, 21st, 5th, 6th, and 12th at the Open Championship. He has no PGA Tour stats either, but he ranks high in recent form for adjusted round score, greens in regulation, and driving accuracy on Fantasy Labs. And he's also in the 90th percentile in recent birdie score on Fantasy Labs, which is something I really look at. I want golfers who can score a lot of birdies. So this guy's a guy who's been playing well. He's at 6,100. I thought he'd be closer to maybe 7,300, somewhere in that range. So we're getting a pretty big discount on Sullivan. He probably will be a popular pick, but definitely someone I'll have in my lineups. All right, guys, so if you enjoyed this video, make sure you take a quick second and click that thumbs up button on the YouTube channel underneath the video. It just really helps out my channel, and it also helps me know that you guys are enjoying these videos so I can keep making videos like this. As always, guys, good luck with your contest. Hope you make some money. Cheers.